Go.
Today I will be persuading you on why you should homeschool your kids versus public schooling them. My family and I have homeschooled our entire lives, from when I was just getting into preschool to my last year of high school. I have been a homeschooler. For many years I have seen people criticize families that homeschool and blame the parents for homeschooling their children and saying that keeping them home all day is taking away from the ability to go out and experience new things that they would receive being in a public environment. Many of the people I knew growing up who were homeschooled for their whole lives asked me how I make friends or do I ever get out of the house. These things don't reflect on homeschooling, they reflect on the people's wanting and desire to get out into the world and experience new things for themselves. Many people have always criticized the idea of homeschooling, saying that parents are depriving their children by raising them and bringing them up fully in their own homes and under their parents' guide. That is why I have chosen this topic, to really get into the research on just how much homeschooling your child versus public schooling them can really make a difference in their lives. In a website article written by College at Home, it lists some interesting facts about homeschooling versus public schooling. The first thing I'd like to point out is the growing number of over 2 million homeschool students, a 75% increase from 1999. It is also mentioned that 73% of those families were dissatisfied with the American school system as a reason to homeschool their child. People try to say the homeschooling students are receiving the best education they can in a public school system. But let's look at some more numbers that prove otherwise. Studies show that homeschooled students have proven to do better at testing than public school students, with the highest to low 89 to 84 percentile in all subjects, to an average 50 percentile test taking for public school students. When they go off to college, studies show that homeschooled students keep on succeeding. The average GPA of homeschooled students in college is 3.41 compared to 3.112 of other freshman students. Studies show that homeschool students also graduate from college at a higher 66.7% and a lower 57.5%. Than their peers. I talked about the academic value and improvement in homeschooling. Now we'll get into the social and day-to-day life of homeschool students compared to public school students. In a study measuring communication, daily livings, socialization, and maturity, homeschoolers outscore public schoolers at every level. Communication, homeschoolers outscore the public school kids 113 to 145. Homeschoolers scored a 1.2, a 112.10, while public school kids scored a 90.77 in communication. In socialization, homeschoolers scored a 109.50, while public school kids scored a 95.08. Maturity level, homeschoolers scored a 115.55, while public school kids scored a 93. In a website article written by Isabel Shaw, she lists the pros and cons of homeschooling. She talks about the freedoms and the benefits in home living of being a homeschooling family. She talks about the educational freedom a homeschool student has. She talks about how homeschool students have the choice to pretty much learn what they want when they want to. Of course, all the basics are covered in their education, but children can start at age 6 or age 10, depending on their maturity levels and their interests. A few states, however, have required educational legal laws, so educational freedom is limited in those states. Another thing she talks about is the religious freedom a homeschool family has in teaching their kids. This is a big part of why families turn to homeschooling. They want their children to be raised in their beliefs instead of what the public school system is teaching them to believe in today. In this speech, I hope to have put together some research on the studies that show why homeschooling is better for your children and family than public schooling. Being a part of a homeschooling family my whole life, based on my experiences, I can back the research I have showed you today from my life as a homeschooling student. The many people that have questioned me about my life as a homeschooling student and how I couldn't possibly be on the same academic level and social level as a public school student, those people are wrong. Research and studies have proven that homeschooling students are actually on a higher level in these aspects than public school students. Many families today are starting to see this, and the number of homeschooling students continue to rise because of it.